They have no idea where we are, who we are, where we're coming from, or who we are, where we're coming from, or who we are, where we're coming from, or who we are, where we're coming from. And this is the best of the best. Wow. That is football.
Hey, I'm here. Oh, I can't hear you. Hang on.
Is it fixed now?
It is now. Yeah, you were muted. I don't know how long you were going on mute. I hope you weren't doing it.
Well, all right. Well, anyway, whatever. We're 4 minutes in. We had technical difficulties. I was over here just hanging out. Good to see you.
Babbling on mute, it would appear.
I was about to make a pick in our draft, but that can wait.
Gosh, good grief.
Yeah, super exciting. What's new with you? What's new with the projections? What's new with things in general?
Dude, projections are wild. I've been going through these things, and every year I go through this. I do the projections, and I don't believe half the stuff I see, and then I start making adjustments, and then I go back, and the adjustments end up all being wrong, and what I should have just left it the way it was, because really the machine is smarter than I am. So this year I decided not to touch a dang thing. And I'll tell you, a few players are surprising. Now, they'll tweak a little bit up and down as we get through OTAs. And
like who? Give me one.
Well, let's see. Let me see if I can pull something up here for you. I just had a bunch of kind of head shake moments.
I'm putting you into the spotlight here for a second.
Oh, gosh, don't do that. I hate that. I've got a lot of sunburn here, folks. So if I'm looking at a particular breed of pink or red here, It was a rough day out here. Trey Lance feels like he's way too high. I've got him plugged in right now at QB5, and I'm having trouble personally getting behind that. Like I'm not drafting him that way.
That's ridiculous. I mean, if that happens, he'll win you your league.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. I personally, I'm not going to draft him that way, but the projection model is telling me that I should be. And so the model's been right more frequently than I have. So I'm just going to stick with what it tells me, I guess. A couple other ones that I thought were interesting. DeAndre Swift came in at 13. I thought that was a little low. I felt like he should have been a shade higher. Let's see. Miles Sanders at 21. That was a guy where I felt like that was higher than I expected. He's going as like the RB30, I think, right now, according to Fantasy Pros ADP. Mm-hmm. So that was a guy who's up there. The Jets situation was a little interesting. Just the breakdown between Michael Carter and Breece Hall. These guys just aren't terribly dissimilar, and they're both going to be RB3s. And I know it's going to upset a lot of people, and people are going to find that crazy, but there's really nothing in the workload breakdown in the history, not just in New York, but in the history of these coaches anywhere else they've ever been, that leads to a bell cow running back. It's just not there. So if they do it, it would be a complete divergence from the way they call plays and the way they handle their splits and all of that. So we have to assume Carter, Breece Hall, timeshare, maybe it's early down, third down, passing down type situation. Maybe they mix it up where it's drive here, drive there. Fact is, it looks a lot like both those guys are going to play and play a lot. Let's see. Michael Pittman, wide receiver 5. He's going as wide receiver 18, 19 right now.
That's crazy.
And again, we break down, let's just high level it, right? High level move. This is a guy that had 88 catches last year, right? Went over 1,000 yards, almost a double-digit touchdown. So he broke out in a very big way with, objectively poor quarterback play, right? Now you've got Matt Ryan, who has a tendency to hone in on one guy and just create target monsters. It's kind of what he does. He will force feed the best receiver on the team. Is there another guy in Indianapolis that's going to absorb any targets? And I don't want to hear any Paris Campbell garbage from anybody because that's junk and we all know it. Alec Pierce is a rookie. Let's pump the brakes. Michael Pittman looks like the one. Everything in Matt Ryan's history and everything in the Colts play calling, everything on their roster says Michael Pittman is going to be an absolute stud this year.
Yeah, agreed. All right, one other question for you. If I'm looking at this episode and everything we've accomplished here in these first 7 minutes and 59, moving here on 8 minutes.
Okay.
I think we should just do the intro again and get started. I'm doing it. I'm throwing in the intro. Let's go.
They have no idea where we are, who we are, where we're coming from, or who we are, where we're coming from, or who we are, where we're coming from, or who we are, where we're coming from. And this is the best of the best. Wow. That is football.
All right, am I the only one that just loves the part where Madden goes, hey! Like, that's my favorite part. Every time that happens, I smile.
Yeah, R.I.P. in peace. He's all over the new Madden game.
Dude,
I'm excited about that. I hope they don't disgrace his legacy with the crap product and just poop it out again.
I know. And I'm going to have to end up, spending an absurd amount of money on a PS5 just so I can enjoy it and all of its, variable refresh rate, high resolution, kick-ass glory. I mean, I bought a Sony 75-inch TV that is specifically optimized for PS5 a year ago, and I still am PS5-less. It is a travesty.
First world problems, Jeff. Perspective. There are kids out there trying to figure out where they'll find the next pair of shoes, and here you are whining about your PS5.
I know. I'm sorry. You're right.
Speaking of a bunch of privileged people, let's talk about NFL players. This is the Chop Shop.
We call that a segue, folks. Not the kind you ride around on.
For those of you that have been here since like the moment this episode kicked off, you had something wrong with you. That was a disaster. We were just hanging out. It was a behind-the-scenes warm-up show. 8-minute little pre-intro to the intro. And here we are. John Laub was going to join us from, he does the Draft Bible. He works over with Sports Illustrated and a bunch of other web networks as well. But he is the man, nicest guy in the industry. I love him.
Absolutely.
Known him for a while. But he's having some family issues. He had to step away last minute. And then we had some technical issues of our own, and here we are. And it's whatever. It's like 9:15, you know.
Yeah,
we're cruising along. It's, what is that, 6:15 in California? What's up? Happy dinner time.
Yeah, absolutely. Man, my guy John Laub, I actually was upset. My Gridiron Scholar, that's his name that he goes by when he's doing all this content. He's the Gridiron Scholar. I actually have the Gridiron Scholar T-shirt, and I was going to wear it this evening, like a big dummy. Wore it 2 days ago. Still hasn't made it back through the laundry, so I couldn't throw it on for our show tonight. But we know John had some things going on tonight, and we hope everything's all right with him. And,
tweet him. Don't tweet barrage him, but follow him on Twitter.
Yeah. At Gridiron Skull.
Look at that handsome man.
H-O-L.
You can follow him in all of his stuff over there on Twitter. He's the man. Nicest person in the fantasy industry. All right.
He'll be with us at some point.
Yeah, we'll get him back soon. We're going to have John Macri from PFF on here pretty soon, and hopefully a few other people. I'll keep a lid on that, though. And then for today, we wanted to jump back into like topics that will help people with particularly managing their rookie team, like new rookie acquisitions with their drafts or continuing to prep for future drafts, but also in your redraft world out there, people that are still playing that season only type of fantasy football. We got to come in and talk about those guys too, especially from the rookie perspective, because there's a few rookies every year that come out of nowhere and like Amon-Ra St. Brown their way onto a bunch of playoff teams. And
we were hot on him last year.
Yeah, if you're paying attention, they aren't surprises. And we're here to talk with you about that. And what we'll do is we'll revisit this episode with John and let him just tear apart or agree with all of our takes. Hopefully it's the latter. Let's go ahead and just jump into a few of these. So talking about first, we're going to talk about the guys that doesn't matter if they're rookies, they're vets, who cares? But just a couple guys where like you or I would be willing personally to go and like overpay to get them just because you think they are going to hit this year and you're willing to like put your foot in their corner, which is not a real saying, but
that's I'm willing to go stand in
Jeff.
The corner. Yeah,
they've got him. He's being drafted as the 30th overall running back. We just talked about it. The projections you're doing have him as the 21st overall running back.
Yep.
So that's not too bad a value right there, I'd say.
Yeah, it's pretty nice value. I mean, the big knock on this guy is, can he stay healthy, right? Like he was battling a foot injury 2 years ago, an ankle injury last year. He only had 137 carries. And that's 36th in the NFL. He had 754 rushing yards, 23rd in the NFL. But obviously, hey, you're getting that many yards, that few carries, you're getting a pretty high yards per carry, 5.5 yards per carry. That was second in the NFL. When the guy gets the ball in his hands, he's making things happen, okay? You're going to see him targeted a little bit more frequently out of the backfield as they refine Jalen Hurts a little bit, start getting him to check the ball down. Defenses have to honor A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, and Dallas Goedert. We're going to see more of that opened up, softer boxes. This guy has a chance to finally pop and maybe give us that fantasy ceiling we've been looking for the last few seasons.
I think that's fair. So this man right here, Miles Sanders.
Oh man, you got some highlights and everything. We got to credit whose YouTube channel is this from? We got to make sure we get credit. Birds and Bells.
Give him a follow. Just search Miles Sanders highlight on YouTube, and this is number one, baby.
Yeah, go sub Birds and Bells. You're helping us out here with this highlight. Thanks, guys.
So I think he's great. I don't have anything else to add on top of what you threw out there, but he's not as good as Saquon, and I hope that he gets as good of an opportunity as Saquon one day in terms of an offensive line, because he's had a juicy one in Philly. He's just had an equally kind of dingus coaching staff, I would say, at least in terms of the overall schematic implementation of him as a running back. Don't go out there and use him like Leonard Fournette.
Yeah, absolutely. But if you're getting Sanders, if you're getting him as the 30th running back off the board, you could potentially be drafting him as your third running back on your fantasy team. That's a pretty killer flex play right there. Age 25 season, that's also generally the pinnacle season for most running backs. Their age 25 year is typically their best physical season. So hopefully we get that out of him this year.
All right, let's move on next to Michael Pittman. I like Miles Sanders too. I will just say I've played this Eagles song and dance, and the Patriots get a lot of flack for having an unreliable backfield. For whatever reason, though, the Eagles have continued to have a fairly unreliable backfield for the last few years now, and I think it's starting to be the case for most fantasy teams. So I'm not saying that's like particularly egregious of them. It just is. It's something you have to deal with.
If there's no injuries, he doesn't come off the field, though. That's the thing. If he's not hurt for, was it 5 games in 20?
They're going to load manage him, though.
Yeah, well, I'm sure they will. But even if they load manage him, the guy plays 17 games, he should still get to close to 200 carries.
I'm only chalking in running backs for 15 games worth of stats this year, and I'll take the 2-game loss for the few guys that play all 17.
I mean, there you go. Let me see. What do I have? I don't know if I have it in front of me here. Let me see if I have the number of games played for this cat.
Moving on. Michael Pittman. This guy, look, the industry's hot on this. This was a spicy take 5 months ago. 4 months ago, it was still kind of spicy. Fast forward to now, and it's like, all right, I got some spicy chicken nuggets from the freezer section at Publix. Oof. But I'm still in on it. I love it. And I think what you said earlier is spicier than just throwing his name out there. You had a projection that pulled Michael Pittman up as the 5th overall receiver this year. Yep. And look, you and I are both intelligent. I think you're smarter than I am when it comes to fantasy football and, most things in life. So when I look at you, then say there's a computer out there that kicks my butt in this stuff, and it says this, 5th overall. I'm like, all right. That's fire. Tell me more.
I mean, for anybody that missed our extended 9-minute intro there, where I was talking a little bit about Pittman, there's nothing in the history of Matt Ryan's career that leads anyone to believe that he's going to pepper the ball around to a bunch of different targets. He finds one reliable guy and he just hammers the ball to that guy, whether it was guys like Roddy White at the beginning of his career, whether it was Julio Jones, even Calvin Ridley for a year. There's always that kind of one guy he really leans on. There's nobody else catching passes in Indianapolis right now. Say what you want about Alec Pierce. He's still a year away. Paris Campbell, give me a freaking break. The guy's useless. There's nobody else. It's just the Michael Pittman show. He broke out last year, 88 catches, over 1,000 yards, nearly double-digit touchdowns. We can expect it again, okay? That's where we're headed with this guy, and it's going to be even better quarterback play. Carson Wentz, I mean, hey, he didn't, for fantasy purposes, he actually wasn't awful last year, but he was generally a bad quarterback as far as NFL play is concerned. So if he could do it with Wentz, imagine what he's going to do with Matt Ryan, who's a significantly more effective passer. Are you intentionally flicking the microphone? What are you doing over there?
I've got everything's pretty claustrophobic over here in this transitional studio I'm in.
I don't know what that was. It was like a boom. I was like, do we have a gong now? That's what we needed. We need a gong when we're done with the take.
He's a big boy, right? I mean, he profiles as like a true alpha receiver. Doesn't have the DK speed, but he's not slow. Right. And he doesn't have, the Julio just straight up insanity when it comes to route running combined with athleticism. But he's kind of like the next best tier of potential. And
if you're watching the highlights, so look at, he's just constantly sitting down in the spot between coverage. Matt Ryan is going to pick teams apart. Yeah.
Well, if their offensive line plays as well as it has over the last few years, and I trust it too. I think that those guys over there running that team, particularly Ballard, they're smart. They know what they're doing. I think he's going to pop this year. And I do think that the thing for me that's not hard analysis, but it rings so true is Matt Ryan, 9 of the last 11 years has put up a wide receiver 1 in fantasy.
Yep.
I don't care who it is. Give me the names, whoever. Roddy White, Julio, Ridley. Mm-hmm. Like, he made rookie Pitts the tight end 1,000-yard guy last year. Like,
yep.
You're telling me he's not going to show up and make Michael Pittman into a stud for fantasy? You're out of your mind.
Pittman was already a stud. If you didn't realize Pittman was a stud for fantasy 5 months ago, 6 months ago, that was your own fault.
Well, let's bring up one last thing with Pittman, and then we'll move on. But sure. I love him. We had in our home league, I like to call it, the league you and I have been in together the longest.
The Pigskin Empire.
Somebody said that it was egregious. You know who you are. And I'm going to send you this clip, and you better listen up. Said it was insane to consider offering Michael Pittman in a salary cap league a 25% salary for 4 years, basically guaranteed,
I was going to do
over
that.
Christian McCaffrey for the same cost at 3 years guaranteed. And I was like, you're out of your mind. I'd much rather have Pittman.
Yeah, I definitely want Pittman in that scenario. McCaffrey is a guy who is closer to the end than the beginning for fantasy. I don't care that he's 26. We look at his injury breakdown. We look at his pure number of touches over the last several years. We'll have more workload update on him in the next few weeks here. Get me out of McCaffrey. People are hot on him this year. I'm happy to sell the hype.
I think he's going to be fine this year.
Yeah, he should
be. He's going to destroy this year if he plays.
But if you're in Dynasty and you're thinking 3 years out, what can you get from McCaffrey?
Dude, I don't want Christian McCaffrey 2 years from now. I love the guy. I think
sell him today.
Yeah.
Sell him. And take that haul and keep your championship window open for 3 more years, because you can get 3 functional players right now for McCaffrey for someone who's competing to win a title today.
All right, next guy is Sky Moore. We've talked about him a lot on this show. He comes up every other week. But Sky is my guy that I am willing to overpay for. And I did. I took him before everyone in this class.
Are you looking at the gridiron ratings?
Was it just Drake London? Did I take Sky? No, it was Treylon Burks went. And then I traded up. And I got Sky Moore ahead of Garrett Wilson, ahead of everyone. And you know what? I don't care. I'll overpay, because this rookie class, there's going to be 2 or 3 guys that everyone wishes was on their team. And if you get one of them, you're going to be happy. If you get a few, great. So just buy a few of them this year. That's what I did. But the guy I really wanted, I was like, well, tie me to the guy that's paired with the best situation. That is Sky Moore. Tie me to the guys that run the best routes. Sky Moore's one of the top 5 in this class. And tie me to the guys with the best hands. That is actually Sky Moore in this class, if you look at it just from a physical standpoint, and then also like his drop rate's ridiculous.
Big, he can actually palm a small planet.
Yeah.
He can palm Mercury. He's
enormous. I'm not comparing him to Michael Jordan. All right. One of the reasons, though, that Michael Jordan dominated at such a young age was he was one of the first guys to be like athletic, but also have hands that are literally like his, to go from his thumb to like his pinky is twice as far as me. I've measured it out before. I've seen it in a magazine. I don't have big hands, but I definitely don't have Michael Jordan.
I'm having this Burger King commercial flashback. You got the tiny hands.
That's me, man. That's me. I auditioned for that commercial.
Yeah.
I love Sky Moore. I think he's fantastic. And anyway, I'll shut up. I've talked about him enough on this show. I can just sit here and get all dreamy about him. I think he's going to be fantastic.
Look, we had somebody on Reddit had actually gotten excited because I said, hey, spoiler alert, we love Sky Moore. And we can't be any more upfront about it. This is probably one of the better combinations of talent and landing position that we've seen in this draft. And Ronnie, you and I have talked about it at some nauseum here. There's 300 players in an NFL draft, right? Give or take. Of those players, half of them are gone in a year. They're not in the league anymore, wiped out. We're at 150 players, right? We go ahead and we start whittling that list down. You get rid of the offensive linemen. If you're not playing IDP, you get rid of the defensive players. You're really down to 50 or so functional players that might still be in the league in year 2. Okay?
Yep.
Now, of those guys, who's starting? Well, we're down to about 20. And then who's making a real impact at a position that matters? Wide receiver, running back, etc. We're down to about 14 tops. And that might be in a really good draft year. This is not a really good draft year. Okay. The guys that make a major impact, that 14 comes down to 3, 4, 5. You think about it, all the hype and love we give to guys like Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, and all these guys. You only get a couple of them a year. Sky Moore is in a position where he can come in, run the routes, hit the route tree, and be a stud right out of the gate if he can get the curry from the coaching staff. He's got to curry some of that love. He's got to get a little bit of that Zuzu in the preseason to show him that he's.
Let's ask this. Let's play this drill.
Okay.
If Drake London went to the Chiefs,
oh God,
number 1 overall dynasty player from this class, right?
Oh, without question.
Skips Breece Hall.
Without question.
Who else skips Breece Hall from the wide receiver class? Sky obviously doesn't. Maybe Garrett Wilson.
Maybe. I think it's hard to when I think about exposure and the way guys kind of match up, right? You always want to be exposed to the best quarterback in football, right? Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow. You get these guys. Yeah, I think the list would be potential. It's going to be Drake London, potentially Garrett Wilson, Jameson Williams. If there's no ACL tear, could be in there, but he could be really great, or he could be Deshaun Watson. I'm sorry, wrong Deshaun Jackson.
I think that Wan'Dale Robertson was the other guy that I would have liked to see go to the Chiefs. I'm happy with Sky Moore, but he's a guy that I could have enjoyed there, and we'll see with his little T-Rex arms.
Yeah, I love the position that Sky Moore is in right now. This is a guy that he just runs really nice routes. He's not going to razzle dazzle. He's not slow, but he's not going to razzle dazzle you with a bunch of deep speed. He's just going to come out there and he's going to vary speed within his route. He can go ahead and gear up or gear down depending on where he is in his route to create separation and to keep the corner off balance. I think that's what he does really well, and it's a thing you don't see in a lot of receivers. Another guy that I thought did that really well coming out was actually Van Jefferson. Mm-hmm. But I look at this guy and look, a little bit of a push off there maybe, but it's probably not getting called in any game. That's a heck of a catch.
He's a beast, man.
Yeah, no, he's a great player. I just think he wins differently than these other guys. Give me Sky Moore all day long, and I'll be thrilled with that.
Well, his ADP right now in redraft is the 65th overall wide receiver.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think that might be fair. So here's what you're looking at. If you're taking Sky Moore,
I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah, well, of course not, because if you're getting on board early, this is a guy that could help you win your league, right? This is a situation where, like, the guys that were on Elijah Moore early last year were pumped by the time week 8, 9, 10 came around. This guy's getting 10 targets a game. Same thing with Amon-Ra St. Brown. Like, we were all over Amon-Ra last year. I know our draft guide that we put out last year, we had him on right on the front page of the wide receiver breakdown. Yo, here's your rookie. Go get this guy. And
keep going. Sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, like, this is a situation where he may not play the first 4 or 5 weeks, right? But as soon as he does, he's going to start playing a lot and playing well, and he's going to be open always.
I will say this, the smartest guys in this industry, and I'm not going to name their names, and it's not us either.
If they're the smartest guys, we should name names. It's okay.
But there are like 3 or 4 names that I think crush it when it comes to redraft analytics and dynasty, and they're each in competing websites. I'm not naming their names, but you probably know who they are, Jeff. If you guess one, I'll name all of them. If you guess one of them.
Oh gosh, I mean, I don't know. I think everyone's got a different opinion who the best is, but I'd be interested to see who you're talking about.
Well, one day we'll reveal it, but they all love Sky. They have Sky as the number 1 or number 2 wide receiver from this class.
Is one of them John Hansen? Like, are we getting John Hansen?
One of them's John Hansen. One of them's Hansen.
Yeah, you
have great projections, right? He's the god of projections, and his have Sky finishing as the wide receiver 33 and the number 1 guy from this class.
Man.
And I'm just like, yeah, if he shows up by week 3 and is starting and is playing like 70% of the offensive snaps or something ridiculous, even if he's just showing up 50% of the offensive snaps by week 3, like, if you don't have him on your team, you better go trade for him. If it's a scenario that I think is more likely, like Jeff said, where like Chiefs are kind of doing whatever, Juju's probably popping off because Juju's an intelligent guy. Like he'll figure out the Chiefs stuff. Him and Mahomes will click. I think he's undervalued. But if the cards play right for Sky, I don't see another rookie with a higher ceiling than him for the next 2 seasons.
Yeah, and I think that's totally fair. I'm in a position right now where I don't have him playing 17 games right now, and it's really weighing him down. But, I mean, you're talking about a guy who, I've only got him in for 10 games, and he still was in there at the wide receiver 71, but on 10 games. That's total season. So his points per game is pretty legit. If you break it out, he's probably in the top 35 in terms of points per game if you go just on a 10-game schedule. But I find it hard to believe the Chiefs, with all the veterans they have in play and all of that, they're going to go ahead and thrust the rookie in right away. I think he's going to have to earn it. He will. I have no doubt about that. But they didn't just go pay MVS. They didn't just go pay Juju to go ahead and get pushed by Sky Moore as much as we all love him. They're going to make him go and beat the money out of those guys.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, and I hope that he can. For him in Dynasty, though, it's just like I know that he will. At some point, he has the highest upside of any wide receiver on their team right now, and I mean that. I mean, no offense to Juju, who I love, and does a lot of stuff with fantasy actually. But then MVS is basically a mini. Like he's not even a mini. He's a DK. He's just not as famous for taking his shirt off as DK. That man could beat me up. So no offense to you either. I just love Sky Moore, man. I think Sky Moore's potential is
all of these
ridiculous.
guys can beat you up. Let's be honest about that.
Most people who play in the NFL, including the long snappers, could put a whoop
definitely the long snappers. Now, kickers and punters, maybe.
All right, Cole Kmet. Speaking of people that could beat me up, this man is large. He's 6'4" and a half, 6'5". He's a tight end. He's fairly quick. And he's got good hands. He's got decent routes. He kind of does everything except for score touchdowns. If you look at him and you're just a box score person, you're going to be like, huh, well, what the hell is this all about? And then you got to go and you look at the actual teams he's on. And you're like, huh, why aren't they throwing any touchdowns to anyone? And then you kind of you can noodle around all you want. But in the end, Darnell Mooney is a smash this year. He's going to get the ball thrown to him all the time. And then the other guy's Cole Kmet.
Yep, sure is. I mean, at the end of the day, you're talking about a guy that could potentially get a 20% target share here. There's just nobody else to throw the ball to. Well, a 20% target share for Justin Fields may still only make Kmet a low-end tight end one, but that's not bad. You're talking about a guy you're going to basically get for what? I mean, he's going as the 13th tight end. Cool. He's basically free. 13th tight end off the board. You're going to get a guy that's going to go ahead and get you 20%. And the only reason I dink him in terms of making him a low-end tight end one, not a high-end tight end one, is because I don't know that the Bears have enough touchdown upside in their offense yet.
Well, I think that I hear everything that everyone wants to say about Cole Kmet and all of the reasons why it might not happen. And I just hear them, and I am in my world of bliss. This is my guy for this year at the tight end position. So I
like
care.
him a lot too. Dude, his yards and receptions are more stable than touchdowns anyway. But touchdowns are the differentiator, right? You see the guys like the Kelseys, the Andrews, the Wallers, they score some touchdowns.
Look,
and that keeps
Kmet's not Kelsey.
Well, we're not saying that, but you got to remember, this is the guy that was the primary receiver when he was at Notre Dame.
Like, he has all the potential. Look, if you put, I don't care, any other coach, and potentially you could fix it with just the coach. But let's just say you take Fields and you swap him with, I would give. Because of the coach and quarterback combo, I would give probably 10 to 13 quarterback situations that I would take over that for Kmet if they just switched the coach and the quarterback. But I like Justin Fields. I just think he's a rookie, and I don't know that I love the coaching staff there yet. I think they might get fired still at the end of this year. So everyone has to
that's a new staff. They just hired this group. They're not dumping these guys after a year. They're going to be fine. They're going to give them 2 years.
I think that everyone's getting fired in the next 12 months. That's what's going to happen, except for the Belichicks.
No,
and the handlebar mustaches will reign supreme.
Okay.
No, they won't get fired, but I do just look at the whole situation and I'm like, well, everyone can say blah, blah, blah. If you have your guy, you're happy about that dude regardless. But, man, this guy, the routes he runs the best, if you look at the PFF grades, are the same routes that are the targeted the most. If you look at his new coach's setup. Sorry, I thought I heard my dog. And his coach's scheme. It's like that middle tier, first and second level intermediate stuff. And if you look at Justin Fields, man, his highest graded passes all will go to that area. And you know what? If Darnell Mooney is getting double covered, which he will be, and it's a linebacker and whoever else, and it's Cole Kmet, I don't know, man. Maybe Velus Jones will pop off because he's got the experience of, Terrell Owens. And he's he could just maybe teams will just double bracket Kmet and Mooney and just Velus Jones will pop off. But I think Kmet will be fine. Let's move on.
Yeah, I like Kmet.
All right. So I'm gonna move on here to a little Twitter, I would say a sneaky account that I hesitate to share with people because I know that people in my leagues will use it now. But that's fine. Step up your game. The NFL Beat Writers Twitter account is some angel but comes down from the heavens every day and scours Twitter for the beat writers who say anything that's worth anything about rookies or young players or happenings in camp. So I sat there and I went through all of them. And even just to go through the stuff that he decided was worth posting, it was exhausting. But here's a few. Paris Campbell, you talked some smack about this man earlier. Not just a slot receiver, has a skill set, knowledge, blah, blah, blah. Everything that was true about his draft profile. It's like, yeah, all right, we already knew all that.
Yeah, but his bones are made out of balsa wood, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a Percy Harvin situation. I'm like, all right, I get it. I get it. He's athletic. He's a freak. If it works out, he's amazing. You might get that for a couple games, but in the end, he's a
How long has Paris Campbell been around? How many years? 3 years now?
3, going on 4.
Going on 4 years. How many guys break out in that 4th year?
Oh, dude, not a lot. You gotta hit, and you gotta hit pretty hard by year 3 to hit any sort of relevant, like, projected.
Yeah, and even year 3
so.
breakouts, really, they kind of broke out in year 2. If your receiver isn't getting it done, rookie year, okay. 2nd year, there's still nothing. The odds of them breaking out in the 3rd year, I would sell the 3rd year breakout hype because, truthfully, the career arc for wide receivers, year 2 and year 3, aren't that dissimilar.
Well, I agree. But if you can get Campbell for free, I mean, it's whatever. It looks promising. I saw this other tweet where the guy was like, of Matt Ryan's 16 completions, 8 of them went to Paris Campbell. I was like, you know what? I'll take it.
Wouldn't that be something? Paris Campbell becomes the guy and Michael Pittman does nothing.
Michael Pittman just craps on everyone's dreams.
I would
wait, let's go back to this real quick. Speaking of food, which we weren't, but I'm segueing into that. Jelani Woods, right?
Go for food.
Great looking tight end prospect, big guy, athletic guy, multi-sport guy, multi-position guy, yada, 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 yada. Mo Ali Cox. I used to serve this guy pizzas back in Richmond, Virginia, all right, at Extreme Pizza, and this man would come in and eat an entire pepperoni, like 16-inch pizza by himself.
Let's not put the man on blast like that. We don't need to put his dietary habits out there like that.
It wasn't abnormal for him. Every single player at
the
VCU,
adult film star Mo Ali Cox is our favorite football player in the league.
I love the
best name ever.
Oh, he's incredible. But what I'm saying is that I've seen the way that these guys, from the VCU program all the way up to the other beloved people, like I'm sure my beloved Cole Kmet, they eat a lot. They're big boys. They eat more than I can because they weigh twice as much as I do, just in length. And so to get to my point here,
it got a little weird.
I hate to say it because I love Mo Ali Cox, but Jelani Woods is first of all, it's a great name pairing, and I think it's hilarious. And I'm trying to dance back over it as much as I can because I'm a child. But I think Woods is going to hit harder than Cox, and I don't know what else needs to be said here.
All right, here's the deal. I watched a lot of Jelani Woods. The guy is not a natural. He's not a natural route runner. He's not a natural pass catcher. This is a project. This is one of those guys that I think people are going to love in the preseason. Like, oh, man, look at him go. I made all these guys. Look at him. He hurdled this guy. And the guy is 7.5 feet tall. You're going to get some kind of weird thing that'll happen that he'll do. And it's going to be all over all the highlights, and people are going to lose their minds. Be ready for it. And then what you do is you let somebody else go ahead and spend all their fab on him. Because when other managers in your league are making mistakes, don't interrupt them. This is not somebody you need this year. He is a taxi squad player at best for 2022, maybe 2023.
Well, I agree with you on that. There's other tight ends I like better than him in the class. I'll just say that. Paris Campbell, more about him. This is what I was talking about. 3 straight touchdowns, blah, blah, blah. Matt
Doesn't
Ryan,
matter.
Blah, blah, 8 of 24.
All right. This is perfect. This goes right into something I want to talk about tonight. We talk about beat writers, and we talk about all this stupid junk. Guys who take stats of OTAs have got to be some of the worst people on the face of.
Hey, man, these are my people.
No.
They give me the info I need to make rash decisions.
There's nothing good coming from this. Here's the deal. Only about 20%, only about a third-ish, 33% of all practices are even open to the media. Okay? So if you were going to decide if a player was good, if you're going to go scout a player, or if you're going to watch a football game, are you only watching a third of it to decide how it went down? Of course not. This is only a time for experimenting. This is a time for trying to build some chemistry and some camaraderie. None of this matters If a guy goes 10 of 11 with 5 touchdowns in OTA practice, it does not matter at all, ever. So if you're getting hyped about these stats, don't. It's all false flag. It's all stuff that's just kind of misdirecting.
It's all right. Easy now. Easy now.
Focus really hard. No, well, this is
the
important.
trigger words over here. False flag. Next thing I know.
Sorry, yeah.
Next thing I know, we got the FBI over here. Like, all right. So
sorry.
we heard you giving out some shitty advice, and then you said a word
that
we don't like it.
Yeah, a little intense there. Sorry. Fact is, do not make the mistake of falling into the trap of reading all the stats from OTAs. It's the
smoke wars.
That's all it is. It's all smoke. None of it matters. You need to read through it. You're better off tracking what the coaches are saying afterwards, and then you have to dissect the coach speak, right? You need to find the consistency in the message from May, June, July, because that will become the truth in August.
All right. I knew that would get you to stop talking. All right, moving on.
My disdain for you can't really be measured.
It's the chop shop, baby. We're just having a good time here. I wish John was here. I hope everything's okay at that end.
Man,
again, John Laub, the Gridiron Scholar, one of the best people ever. Shoot him a follow on Twitter.
I'm going to preface by saying I don't like 7-on-7 observations. Thank you, Joel.
Yeah, appreciate it, Joel. Listen, I know the name Joel Erickson. Nate Atkins, not as familiar with, but I still appreciate you a lot, Nate. Paris cancels more shit. We already talked about this one. Let's move over here to Devonta Smith.
Don't worry about it.
So everyone's hyped about Jalen Hurts and what they've seen so far. I don't really care.
Mm-hmm.
That chart notes, I looked through it. Nothing super surprising. And then the big thing for me, though, was everyone was like, oh, my God, we all forgot about Devonta Smith. Like the universal feedback was just everyone in the crowd was like, oh, yeah, A.J. Brown's neat. But we also have this guy who was like the next big thing before we decided to, convert a quarterback.
Well, Hurts has seen improvement in the last year. I have been one of those people that's kind of been anti-Hurts because he's been such a bad passer, but he has shown improvement. And now that you add, A.J. Brown in there, you've got Devonta, you got enough guys where you can't just take away one weapon anymore and force Hurts to run around and beat you. You're going to give him more favorable positions to throw the ball into, and I think that's going to help his development, help the completion percentage along, and continue to see them getting first downs. And that's going to matter when you're talking about racking up fantasy points because, well, you get more snaps, you get more opportunities at targets and yards and touchdowns and all that stuff. So I think this is all good news.
I skipped over him for a couple players I wish I hadn't skipped him over him for in the startup we're in the middle of right now. He went like wide receiver 37 or something like that. And I was like, it's terrible.
Yeah.
I got Sky Moore over Devonta Smith, so
Yeah, I'd already stacked up at wide receiver. I probably should have taken him.
Oh, look at this. Saquon Barkley to me on his 2022 outlook under new head coach Brian Daboll. It feels like a fresh start. I feel good again. I know it's all there. I know how talented I am. Just taking it one day at a time. You feel the energy out here doing different things.
I love Saquon. I love Saquon. But I feel like this is a copy paste from like 2 years ago when they hired Joe Judge.
Oh, media training 101. Here's a script.
Yeah, exactly. And Saquon's pretty good at that now. I love Saquon.
That's all. If
he's healthy,
fine
he's elite.
And dandy. But I still think it's worth just appreciating what this man could be. Because let's say that Daboll does what this. I didn't go through all those Saquon tweets, but there's been a lot of talk about Saquon being used. I would call it intelligently. Yeah. And what I mean by that is like getting him in space, getting them the ball in space, using him in motion, treating him like Alvin Kamara. Stop trying to pretend he's some weird combination of Emmitt Smith and Barry Sanders, which he never was. And I think that the guy wasn't ready last year to be that dude that we just saw doing the jukes and everything. He was still relearning his body. You could see it in the way he played. But also the coaching staff was off. They were gone. Everyone knew they were gone. Like
Joe Judge and company really did their best to ruin him.
So it was a wasted year. The whole thing was just a waste, and I hated it. And that's my feelings on Saquon because he's a guy that I love like more than any running back that's come out. Sans maybe Kamara. in the last like 10 years.
He's the best. I just love him. I love the size speed ratio. When he came out, I had him pegged as one of those Hall of Fame level players. When people were saying, "Oh, you got to take Sam Darnold," I think Darnold was the quarterback they were supposed to take. The Jets took him at 3. Giants took Saquon at 2. And my argument was, don't skip a player with a Hall of Fame, profile on him for a quarterback who's going to be gone in 3 years.
Look, if y'all didn't mismanage the hell out of your team,
yeah,
the Saquon pick would have been fine. If you managed to build a remotely intelligent roster around this guy, it would have been incredible.
Yeah. Well, and the injuries hurt too, right? Like you got to keep the guy on the field too. But I mean, Saquon, look, if he's right and he plays all 17 games, he's a rhythm guy. He's going to get into a strong rhythm. He's going to put up a ton of yards. I'm hoping to see him get involved in the passing game more frequently, like he did as a rookie. But we got to remember that was an Eli Manning-led team, not a Daniel Jones-led team. So is Daniel Jones what's holding back, Saquon Barkley?
Probably.
And he could
if he had Matt Ryan, everyone would be freaking out right now.
No, yeah.
Let's take a moment and shout out our sponsors, the Kyle Shanahan Fan Club. We as one of us at least is a Niners fan, love Kyle Shanahan. I enjoy him both for that because it makes Jeff happy, which is it's nice, I guess.
I mean, he's good. He's a good coach.
But he's good for us that like fantasy. He gives us lots of juice every year. There's always stuff to do with 49ers players. And this isn't actually great. This is pretty funny, and I just liked it. It's like Sermon saw a lot of action. Check. With the first unit. Check. Early in practice. Check. A change from a week ago when so-and-so backs did so-and-what. Anyway, Sermon did not make the most of his opportunity, fumbled the ball away on his first carry of the day after picking up 5 yards. And then I went on to read that he didn't do a ton else that was really that exciting. I was like, damn it, bro.
Sermon, he's not somebody you want to have any part of. If you've got him, you're praying. But he's that. Eli Mitchell's going to own the backfield. It's going to be the Debo show. Trey Lance is going to get a ton of carries, and you're going to see some of these other guys kind of pop in with some spot work. But if you've got Sermon,
let's do Christian Watson real quick. He's a guy that a lot of people at Gridiron Ratings have been relatively down on, to say the least. I think he has a super high ceiling. It's just kind of like you're so raw, and you're in a situation that has a 2-year window right now. Like you need to pop now. That's an interesting pickup. Mm-hmm. If he pops, it's going to be incredible. I just think it's a super high ceiling with a very narrow window and then a very wide, very low floor. And I'm just looking at it like I might pull the trigger on something else. If I knew somebody in front of me was going to get to choose between Watson and Sky Moore, I'd trade up in front of them and I'd go get Sky Moore. I'd be like, whatever, I'm out of here. Let me go get my dude. Yeah. Sammy Watkins still isn't at OTAs. He was found basking in the sun, eating from a jar of flies, reading Jurassic Park. And,
what?
The Lizard King is back, baby. It's the Lizard King. It's the sun god. It's the god of lizards himself, Sammy Watkins. Do you not know this joke, Jeff?
I do, but you referred to him as the sun god in the middle of that little diatribe.
That's Amon-Ra. I just wanted to make sure you were paying attention.
I am, but no, the thing with Sammy Watkins is that he needs to be at OTAs if he's going to be the one there in Green Bay, and right now it could end up being Christian Watson or Romeo Doubs, because if Watkins isn't going to show up and learn what he has to do and where he has to be, I'll tell you what Aaron Rodgers is going to do to him when he runs on the field. He's going to tell him to turn his ass back around and go back to the sideline.
Two questions for you, because I agree. So, first of all, I heard a rumor that Sammy Watkins couldn't show up because they ran out of heat lamps. Do you buy it?
If you're only listening to this on a podcast version, I'm only shaking my head. You can't see it, but I want you to know that it's there.
If you have to describe what you're doing yourself, then that means you've already lost.
No, well, if they're only listening and not viewing, then they have to know that I'm shaking my head at you.
So the Lizard King's out here being a dingus, which we all would have expected. But then Romeo Doubs, right?
I like Doubs.
You know who likes eating Doubs? It's Jameis Winston. Isn't it a great thing that he wasn't drafted by the Saints?
Jumping Jimmy. I'm dying on the inside right now.
All right, Najee Harris. Speaking of people that could not only beat me up, could eat a lot more than me. Probably does eat a lot more and is scary, but is also like the sweetest dude on the planet, apparently. Him
This
and
show is
Saquon.
totally off the rails tonight. I don't.
We're just having fun, man. I'm trying to make up for the John Laub experience, which will be back. Stay tuned. Smash that like and subscribe button. We'll be back with more goodness. But Najee Harris looks like a beast. I don't know if he's just bulking up and then is going to cut more. I would like to see him stay at the weight he was last year. He was already a big guy. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, what was he at last year? Like 230, 232? Because I don't think he cleared 235 last year.
Right now.
Yeah, look, getting over 240, heck, even 235 for a running back, that kind of scares me. And I get what Derrick Henry is, but Derrick Henry's a different dude. Like he's built different. He is different. Everything about him's different. There's not a great track record for guys that bulk up this much, and I don't know if I love it. Like, does he have the skill set to still be elite? Oh yeah. But guys get bigger. They put on more mass. Agility suffers. That's just a fact. You might have more straight line speed, more power, but if you can't make a guy miss in a phone booth in the NFL, it makes it a lot harder to create yardage.
I think that's fair. So there were some other notes that I'm not going to bring up on screen, but here's just a few other guys. I'm going to rattle them off for you here. So Julius Chestnut.
Joey Chestnut's kid, right?
I know.
Was he born of hot dogs?
Born of the world of hot dogs.
Sponsored by Nathan's.
Yes, sponsored by Nathan's. His mortal enemy is anyone on the Steelers. He hates the Heinzes.
So this is the guy he was drafted by. He was picked up UDFA from Tennessee, right? Is that
UT Chattanooga, I think, or something ridiculous.
No. He was picked up as a UDFA by the Titans.
By the Titans, yes.
Okay, yeah, because he played at some Sacred Heart or something.
St. Bale's or St. Anne's or something.
I have no idea. Yeah, I'd have to go look him up.
He's a beast. He graded great.
Yeah, I don't know enough about him yet. I'm going to wait and see him in the preseason. That wasn't a player I even scouted pre-draft process, so I have really nothing to add.
Me neither. I'm just looking at him in our draft. I'm like, well, I don't pick for another couple rounds. I don't really care about anyone that's left.
Probably still going to be there after the draft is over.
I don't think so. I think that these stories are going to keep coming out. Someone's going to watch this show and they'll be like, "Fuck you, Ernie."
Let somebody else make the mistake. It's okay. Don't get over.
Well, at this point, it's all dart throws for me. I've already filled my roster out.
Look, when other managers are making mistakes, don't interrupt them, Ronnie.
All right. Well, yeah, but that's not any fun. All right. I'm going to open this up, and we're just going to really quickly here to close out the show.
Yeah, we've gotten way off the rails. I'm going to apologize for everything this evening. This has been kind of a weird one for us tonight. Well, we gave him 9 minutes of silence to open the show. So
we did. It's super raw, man. It's super trendy. Everyone's going to be like, "Whoa, these guys are so cool. They're clearly not corporate sponsored."
Nor will we ever be, apparently.
No, I don't think so. Let me do a screen share.
You getting Reddit questions pulled up? What do we got here?
No.
They're my favorite questions, are the Reddit questions.
All right. We're going to go to page 1 here, and I'm going to zoom in a ton.
Are we picking for your team? What's going on here? Oh, okay.
So these are the rookies. These are kind of just the offensive guys that are going round 4. You want me to throw in defensive guys?
Nah, we talked enough IDP. We're not going to do IDP tonight. Let's do more IDP next week.
Okay.
I know, I love IDP, but let's give it a rest tonight.
All right. So I think one of the guys I had on here was Isaiah Pacheco, Kansas City Chiefs, kind of random lottery ticket type guy, but definitely a more athletic profile than either Ronald Jones or Clyde Edwards-Helaire. And I don't think the Chiefs are sold to either one of the two guys I just mentioned long term. So I'm like, kind of the same logic with Sky Moore, but applied here where it's after you've already done your rookie draft. If he's still sitting there, why not just pick him up for free?
For those of you that are old enough to remember the pre-Clyde Edwards-Helaire days in Kansas City, and even the pre-Kareem Hunt days where you had guys like Spencer Ware showing up randomly and getting you 1,000 yards rushing and 35 catches. If there's a Chiefs running back, go take him. I mean, I was just in a draft where I actually took Ty Chandler. Madison's in a contract year. Dalvin Cook's never healthy. Like, that could be a guy that steps in and gets some PT right away. You know, all these guys are just
30th pick in the 7th.
Yeah, dude, he got drafted, though. He got drafted. He's not a UDFA. But, yeah, I mean, those two running backs right there, you get Tyler Batty, I don't really care. Too many running backs.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to this next page, though, because this is where we had some guys. So you had Charlie Kohler and Isaiah Likely.
Yep. The reason why I put them both is because I just wanted a Baltimore tight end. You gave me a list of players to choose from, and I said, I love Baltimore Raven tight ends. And being an Iowa State guy, I got to take Kohler. Isaiah Likely, though, he's a pretty nice athlete. We talked about Jelani Woods earlier. Is he going to be on the same level as Woods? Probably not, but he's still a super athletic dude. And I look at the Ravens, and I'm like, this is a team that's going to sit here and run, a lot of 12 and a lot of 22. We're going to see a lot of two tight ends on the field. Kohler and Likely are going to see the field this year. Probably rotational, probably not a ton of stats, but these guys are going to be on the field.
I will say that Likely tested absolutely terribly at the combine.
Yeah, I'm not worried about that.
Oh, just Tom Brady level.
Yeah. The thing about, what you got to remember about the combine is that can only be used as a part of your athletic profile. You got to remember what you're actually seeing on film. Some guys run 4.3 at the combine. They run 4.7 in a game.
This is the guy I like the most, Charlie Kohler.
Well, he's a polished route runner. He understands how to get open in zones. He can do more things, frankly, than Likely. Likely's more raw. I like Likely a little bit. I mean, again, Baltimore, they're pretty good at drafting tight ends that end up being functional for fantasy. Even guys like Max Williams and, Nick Boyle. Like, these guys have had moments where we've had to use them for fantasy and they've been functional. So if you're talking about this point in the draft, we're in the 50s, the 5th round of your rookie draft here, why not? These are all dart throws. If you're going to do it, take dart throws and guys that'll at least be, on the field at some point. The rest of these guys may not get off the practice squad.
Well, that's true. Well, here's a true UDFA. Kennedy Brooks. He's a bruiser. He's a big guy. He's fairly twitchy, I would say. I didn't watch tape on him or anything, but I've seen some of the highlights on YouTube, and I was like, I get it.
Yeah, he's okay. I'm not getting excited about him. There's a reason why he wasn't drafted. You got to remember, running back, it's a position where who's that guy? What do we have there?
Whoa, hey.
What is happening here? Ronnie, what are you looking at right now?
I think we got some external advertisements here from Alan Jackson's daughter. Thanks, my fantasy league.
Yeah, she has an announcement that's going to apparently terrify everybody. Here's a 23-year-old rookie who wasn't drafted at running back. I don't love it. 5'11", 209. He doesn't offer enough BMI to be exciting. You basically are looking at that guy, and he's, Jackson from the Chargers last year. Was it Josh Jackson or something like that? The third running back they had. That's who we're looking at here.
Yeah, I'd say so. Well, needless to say, I wouldn't give up like a 3rd round pick for any of these guys.
They're all 4th or 5th round guys. I mean, I took, of those guys, I actually have Kohler on the same roster as I have Ty Chandler on. I took them both, I think, the 5th round. It was a 5-round rookie draft, and so I got them both. Sam Howell's another guy I drafted, and I actually, super flex. I'm not afraid of him. I'm
getting mad at seeing his name flying up boards. That was a home run. Nobody else knows about this guy. He seems great. Slam dunk, off-season sleeper.
You hit that one. You crushed that one.
And I'm watching him just creeping up these boards. I'm like, all right, y'all need to chill.
Look at Justin Ross. Check out Justin Ross. Go get him, Mike.
Well, look, y'all are a bunch of dinguses with this guy. Like,
you stop it. I hope Justin Ross comes out and balls out.
I would love nothing more than to be absolutely wrong about Justin Ross.
Yeah. Hey, Keontae Ingram, that's a guy that could end up being the number 2 in Arizona. And given Connor's injury history, Ingram could see valuable time this year. You're scrolling this list. I'm like, oh yeah, that's a good player.
I did go on for Ingram. This sums up part of my draft research. I went and got on the Texas subreddit and just was like, let's go search his name and see what people are like. Dude, they not fans. They are like, yeah, he's average. He's not going to do anything in the NFL.
Well, here's the thing. You just got to be on the field. And right now he's got the shortest track between where he sits on the depth chart now and
You're not worried about Darrell Williams?
Not really.
I think that Darrell and Ingram are probably equally talented, and Darrell is more experienced.
He is, but at the end of the day, let's just say Connor gets hurt because he will. And let's be clear, he's not a true every down back because he wears down. Darrell Williams, what has he really been? He's been mostly a pass catching specialist in Kansas City.
He did what CPAT did last year.
Yeah, he caught a bunch of passes. And Darrell Williams' fantasy production is really buoyed last year by like 2 massive games against the Raiders. He absolutely owned the Raiders last year. If you remove those 2 outliers from his season last year, the guy is complete doo-doo. And so at the end of the day, if we're sitting here in week 5, 6, 7, and they need a running back, are they going to trot the rookie out there, or is this going to be a full split between Ingram and Williams? And Ingram's got fresh legs. I don't know. I think I'm going to go with the rookie. And I'm not saying this guy's going to come in and be James Robinson, right? Like, he's going to show up and ball out as this late round or undrafted, whatever. He's going to end up being on the field for you at some point. So he's going to be functional. He's going to be at least worth a dart throw late in your draft.
I think he might be fine.
Yeah.
I don't care. He's kind of like Wan'Dale Robinson. I'm like,
We talked about 7 guys. There's going to be 7 guys that are going to come out of this class, maybe, that will be good for fantasy. 7. Yeah. Is Ingram one of them? Probably not.
Dude, most of these guys are probably not.
Agreed. But that's where I'm just trying to
pretend like I before all the offseason last year was like, y'all gotta go get James Robinson. Or like the year before. Mm-hmm. He took me by surprise. I was like, whatever.
Yeah, he took a lot of people by surprise. I mean, there was a handful of people that were on him, but it was the same. It was all like factions, right? People look at Jacksonville's backfield. People were like, oh, get Dare Ungabawale. And then you got, somebody else was like, oh, get James Robinson. Somebody else was like, oh, get Divine Azigbo,
Dude, that's all I did. I got him in our league. And all I did was, I remember I had Ungabawale at the beginning. And then I had Azigbo. I had their entire backfield that offseason. I kept just like dropping and then adding the next guy as I saw it. And then I picked up Robinson and someone else picked up Azigbo. And I was like, all right, I'll just stick on Robinson. And Robinson hit. And I was like, It was just the luckiest stupid thing. Remember,
I had to share a comment here.
That.
Well, we got a comment here. Give me all caps. The Charlie Collier shares.
I'm about it.
The Debbie Dirtbag himself.
Talking about Isaiah Likely not. That's what I would say.
And that's how we should take him out tonight.
Yeah,
that was Isaiah Likely. Well,
I can't think of anything else. We'll be doing IDP and some other stuff. Hopefully, either next week or the week after with John from PFF. We'll get John Laub here back on hopefully soon. Twitter's at Gridiron Rating. I'm at Ronnie A. Evans. Jeff's at NFL_DiMatteo. I got nothing else.
I mean, I think we should take him out. And I don't think we should do post-credits tonight because we did pre-credits earlier.
That's fair. I'll just end the broadcast. You know what? We're out.
Wait, we got to hit the video. Take us out with the music. Oh, come on. Are you really going to be that guy?
Fine.
They have no idea where we are, who we are, where we're coming from, or who we are, where we're coming from, or who we are, where we're coming from, or who we are, where we're coming from.